Hey everybody, as promised, I wanted to share my story from the district championship and then talk a little bit about what I did to catch my fish. But first, I'm going to start with a story and then we'll get to the techniques afterwards. But so, just to kind of set it up for you here, it's a district championship day two. Day one, we were sitting in 22nd. Now, the top 20% go for sure, so that's top 21. There's a couple of automatic qualifiers that kind of take out of that as well. So technically it's about 23 that's going to go. So we were sitting in 22nd. So we was kind of right just on the edge of the cut list there, just barely inside of it. I think we had 1263 day one. We only had 4 fish, but they were pretty quality fish. So day 3, I kind of knew going in. I was like, we really need about 12 pounds again. At least 10 pounds, but 12 pounds I feel like would definitely get us in. And so we start the day, and if you've ever fished a multi-day tournament especially, but just a bigger tournament, you like to have a lot of places. Multi-day tournaments, you've got to have more than one spot. Normally one spot's not going to hold up unless it's somewhere offshore, it might hold up, but especially if you're if not fishing some offshore spot that they're reloading on, you really got to have multiple areas. Well, we really didn't find a lot of areas in practice that held the right fish. Some small fish and stuff, different areas, but there's only a couple areas we really found, really one honestly, that had some good fish on it. So there's a lot of anxiety in that, because if you pull up and somebody's on that spot, it's like, well, what do we do now, And so normally when I feel this anxiety in tournaments like this, I go to Proverbs 3:5 in my head, and I'm just kind of repeating it on blast off, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. And I just kind of, I'm repeating this in my head as we go. And, we get to our first spot there, and nobody's there. Great, so we start fishing, and fast forward here, it's 1 o'clock and we don't have a fish in the boat, right? But we're still sticking to the plan, because what we're doing is only going to get better as the day goes on in the evening portion. And so finally we hook up with one and catch one, I think about 3 pounds. And then we run to a different spot that we hadn't even fished, just brand new water, and catch another keeper on a frog, about a pound 3/4 fish, maybe a little more. Had a 3-pounder come all the way out the water at my frog, just completely whiff on it. But then it gets to check-ins at 4 o'clock, gets to 3:15. And I tell Keith, I'm like, man, I guess we'll just run back to this mat we caught the 3-pounder out of and see what else we can catch. And so, running back down the lake, like, it starts to kind of set in, like, something's got to happen here. I mean, we're not going to cut it with 2 fish for sure. We got to at least have a couple more. And so Proverbs 3:5 starts coming back through my head, and I keep running through it again. And so we pull up to our first spot, our last spot, and at this point in time, there's, 35 minutes left before we had to be back. And I stand up on the front deck, and I just kind of say out loud, I'm like, Lord, we can't do this. Like, we need you to help us, because we can't do it on our own. And we start fishing that mat, and it was maybe 3 minutes after I'd said that, I flip in there, jiggle it up a couple times, let it fall, it stops. Well, it's about 5 or 6 foot deep under that mat. If it falls a foot and stops, there's a reason it stopped. So I know as soon as it stops, there he is right there. Set the hook, and it's a 4+. Put him in the boat, and I got a little emotional in that moment, just because I knew there's no coincidence to this here. We've got 2 fish all day, and then get to that spot that we've already fished once and flip in there and catch a 4. And so I'm trying to like put a new bait on. My hands are shaking. You know, I'm kind of emotional, and you know, me and Keith kind of talk about it a little bit, and just kind of amazed at, you know, kind of what God did there. And you know, kind of fast forward, we, you know, didn't catch another fish in there, and we missed the cut by about 2.5 pounds. But the lesson, the story to be learned from that is, you know, sure, we didn't make it. It wasn't the miracle that we needed, but the lesson to be learned is, you know, that morning I start out and you know, trust the Lord with all your heart, and I'm repeating it. And we get to our first spot, we get to going, and it kind of goes to the wayside a little bit, and we're just out there doing our own thing, you know, and then towards the end of the day, you know, we need a miracle, and you kind of surrender all of yourself to it, and just kind of fully trust in Him, because you know it's over with for you. Unless a miracle happens right here, you're done for. And He comes through. Now you say, well, if He'd come through, you might have won the tournament. Well, no, that's not. You know, that's not always going to happen. That's not really the lesson learned here. I think the lesson I took from this was, you know, don't just wait till you need a miracle to fully trust in Him. If you'd have done it the whole day, who knows what could have happened. You know, don't just wait till you're in a bind and in that bad spot and needs a miracle to happen for you to fully trust in Him when you ain't got nowhere else to go. You know, do it all day, every day. But that's kind of just a lesson I guess He taught me while we was out there, and stuff like that you just don't forget, really. But anyway, so now I'll show you guys how we caught our fish. We were using a technique called punching, so we were punching mats. It's one of my favorite things to do. Some places are easier to do it than others. So this is my rig here. It's my favorite one. This is what I punch with. This is a Swagger tungsten, 1 ounce, or this is a 1 1/4 actually. There was some thicker stuff on Guntersville. I had to get a 1 1/4, 1 1/2 to get down in it, but 1 1/4, 1 ounce weight, tungsten weight. You got to have tungsten to get through the mat. It's a dense, so I mean, if you had a 1 ounce lead weight, it'd be ginormous. You'd never get down in the mat. So you got to have this tungsten weight. Swagger tungsten. Then I put a bead on. Not everybody does it. I don't know if it really works, but it makes me feel good, so I put it on there. For the hook, it's a flipping hook. It's a Gamakatsu flipping hook. I just started trying this one actually, and I kind of like it. It's kind of like the G Finesse style hook that they have, but it's flipping hook, so I think I'm gonna stay with it. It's kind of a lightweight hook, but it's strong. Missile baits, D-bomb is good to throw. There's a lot of different baits like this you can throw. This ain't the only one, but the D-bomb is a good one. My setup here, this is a Fitzgerald Titan HD series. This is their flipping series, basically. This is a 7/6 heavy flipping pitching. You can throw anything from a 1/2 ounce to a 1 1/2 ounce weight on it. You can put 20 to 80 pound braid. But as you can see, it's very thick. And so those mats, you've got to be able to get them out of the mat and get them out quickly. And then once they get out of the mat, you got to get them to the boat without them digging back into the mat. They dig back into the mat, it's not going to be good. They're probably going to be lost. This is 70 pound Fitzgerald Versa braid. And then I got a Lew's Tournament Pro 8-3-1 ratio reel. I got the 8-3-1 because, like I said, it's very important once you set the hook under that mat to get them out as quickly as you can. And that 8-3-1 will pull them out of there. I think one turn of the handle is like 36 inches or something like that. So it'll get them on out of there. Another setup I have, this is just something different you can do. I don't do this a lot. And I don't have a bait on there, but It's a punching skirt. That's what it's called, and it's just a skirt that slides over your line. It'll slide up and down, just like the weight will. And I forgot the bobber stopper. This is our elite bobber stopper. But yeah, you got that. It just makes a little bulkier profile. And I've got that one on a Fitzgerald big jig mat flipping rod. It's a 7/8 heavy, 3/4 ounce to 3 ounce weight. Okay, it's a pretty large rod too, and it's made for dragging them out of there. And then I've got that on a same thing, Lew's Tournament Pro 831 ratio reel and the 70-pound Versa braid. So that's kind of my setup with that. There's certain applications, kind of hard to do some places, but it's a lot better some places than not. If you got a grass lake like Guntersville, Seminole, it can be really good. Around the house here, sometimes it can be good. Just kind of depends on the situation. But yeah, so that's kind of what my setup was. And like I said, we were flipping mats. What happens is that grass, that milfoil and everything comes up, and you know, it can't grow. It's not rigid enough to stick up out of the water. So when it gets to the top of the water, it just lays over, and it just lays over and creates a big mat out there. And it goes, when you flip it, it goes through that mat, it going through a canopy. Under that canopy, it's, you know, fairly open. Sometimes it's kind of thick, but it's fairly open. And so they'll get under there, and bluegill will get under there, shad will get under there, feeding on bugs and different things in the mat. And so that's going to draw the bass because there's bait there. So you flip in there and just kind of jiggle it up and down a little bit, you know, a couple times. They don't hit it, pull it out of there, flip it, you know, 10 foot to the right and do it again. But anyway, it's kind of one of my favorite techniques. It's what we use to catch all our fish. We caught quality fish, not a lot of fish, but they were quality. But if you got any questions or anything about that, or any comments on the story or anything, just drop them in the comments, and like and share if you feel it to. But hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys got something out of this, and y'all have a blessed night.